It's Tommy on Tap.
Welcome back to Tommy on Tap, back from a long hiatus and here for the NFL and college football season. Tommy on Tap is back. Tommy, what do you have on tap for us today?
Oh my goodness, it's just so good to be back sitting here drinking a beer and talking about the thing we love, man. I'm so excited for college football to start, probably more than anything. And the NFL season, I'm excited too, because the first 2 weeks of Hard Knocks has been pretty fun to watch with the Lions. And so let's talk some college football. I don't have anything in particular I want to talk about. Let's just talk ball and see how outlandish we can be with our predictions and comments and have a little talk conversation.
Absolutely, but before we do that, we got to say what we're drinking, right? So what do you got on tap, Tom?
Oh, Bell's Two Hearted. First show, had to go to my old standby. What do you got, Kev?
Sam Adams Sweater Weather Sampler. This is a Jacko, so some kind of pumpkin ale.
Yeah,
Nice.
I started leaning into drinking Oktoberfests now that they're popping up. I had when I went to Founders the other day, I had the Oktoberfest, drank a Bell's Oktoberfest yesterday.
Yeah, this is my first fall weather kind of beer pack that I saw and have bought this season, but it's pretty good.
Nice.
Well, if we're gonna talk college football, I think as of recording right now, we are 8 days away from Northwestern and Nebraska. I think that's the headline game for that early day to start off the season. And I wouldn't say Pat Fitzgerald is on a hot seat. He hasn't seen the success that he's seen in recent years, but I think what that means, like every 3 years, Northwestern trots out a 10-2 team. So Northwestern.
He was in 2020. I think he almost won he won the Big Ten West or whatever, and was a down year definitely in 2021. But yeah, I think he's definitely not on the hot seat and could surprise you with the good team. I think a big loss for him last year was that defensive coordinator that they've had for years and years and years. So that hurt him last year. Replacing him might be good.
A school like Northwestern, what they do is they get a good recruiting class. They're never going to get the great recruiting class. And then he develops the kids. And I just think it goes to show what a great coach he is and his staff is, because every 3 or 4 years, they'll get that senior and junior class where they're just really a good football team and they beat people. But then he's got to build it back up. So, he's a class. I don't think he's on a hot seat. Now, across the other side of the sideline, that young man's on a hot seat.
To me, that's a perfect example and like a juxtaposition, because Northwestern understands who they are as a school, the kind of talent they're going to be able to recruit, and they accept that they'll have some good years and some bad years, but Pat Fitzgerald is the man to lead that program. Nebraska's caught in this BS. Tom Osborne overachieved, and now they're just convinced that they need to be winning 11, 12 games a season, and it's not going to happen. Every time they play, I laugh about how they should have never fired Bo Pelini, and it'll be funny to do it again this season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Mark Whipple is the interim coach by week 6, and if Scott Frost is sending emails to Nick Saban, and if he can attend his rehabilitation clinic, because he could very well be on that staff next year, huh?
Whipple throws the ball too much, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what Narduzzi has to say.
Crazy. Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting one. What's funny is, how do those two teams end up having to open the Big Ten season week 1 instead of getting somebody headed down to Eastern Illinois to get themselves warmed up?
I seem to remember Nebraska opening up last year against Illinois. I think
they did, and then they played Northwestern either the second or third game of the season, maybe the fourth game. Yeah.
I wonder if they negotiated some sort of "we want to be the first college football game" type deal.
I think Illinois is playing in week 0 also, aren't they?
Could be. I think last year, Illinois beat Nebraska, right? Like that was the start of their, losing 6 games by like less than 3 points, something like that. Something along those lines.
Brett Bielema got that win in the first game, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it looks like this week we've got Northwestern and Nebraska, and then the other notable game is Vanderbilt at Hawaii.
Ooh.
Which will be an interesting one.
Kevin, they hired the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
From Hawaii, young guy.
Chang, yeah.
Oh, before we move on from Northwestern and Nebraska, we're going to talk about quarterbacks. Nebraska is finally playing this season without Martinez. He transferred out of there. It seems like he's been there since I was 8. And it's not even like he left because he's done with college. He transferred somewhere. I don't know where it was. I don't remember.
Well,
but
they've had a couple different Martinez's is the thing, right?
I
I don't know. It seems like the same guy. And now he's going to continue on. It's like, who was that kid from Michigan, Bobby, we used to laugh about all the time and played there for 12
Last
years?
name Matthews, wasn't it?
I don't know.
It wasn't Steve Breston. It was I don't know. Yeah, there's always that guy that seems like he's been there for 5 or 6 years.
So when Nebraska joined the Big Ten, they had, or a year or two or plus or minus, they had Taylor Martinez was their quarterback, and he had that real bizarre throwing motion. But he could run, and then they had another Martinez the past couple years. Yeah, I mean, but now who is it? Is it guy from Texas or something?
No, I don't know. It's pretty interesting. They better have a kid that can throw if he's playing in Whipple's offense.
Yeah, I think that'll be real interesting to see what Nebraska does this year. I can't think of a coach that's more on the hot seat than he is. Can you? Is anybody around the country that's got it hotter than him?
I don't think so.
Maybe the guy at Auburn. Auburn's pretty psycho about football, and things just didn't go well. He kind of got a lot of bad press about the way things were, so could be Auburn.
That's another one that was pretty crazy. I mean, I think Gene Chizik was 2 years removed from that national championship game, and he's gone.
Yeah, Nick Saban, you talk about him rebuilding coaching careers, but he's destroyed a lot of coaching careers too because they can't beat him.
Well, but that's the thing is like Gus Malzahn was the guy who could beat him. He had, I think, as in that conference, has the most wins against him. And
hey, I said Gene Chizik and I meant Gus Malzahn. My bad.
Well, Gene Chizik was 2 years from a national championship win, and he was gone. Yeah. With Cam Newton, they won it, and then he was gone. Gus Malzahn came back, got to the national championship with Florida State in 2015, something like that, and
gone.
Here, 7 years later, gone because he can't be anything more than 8-4.
And I've said it a couple times. You guys didn't respond to it, but Hugh Freeze beat him 2 years in a row, I think, when he was at Ole Miss.
Yep.
I think your mic was out for that, Tommy. We would have given you the time of day.
All right, thank you. So it's exciting. Hey, and if we're not fired up about Ohio State Notre Dame, that's a football game, week 1 or 2.
I think so. I was reading. Yeah, Paul Feinbaum's doing what he always does and shitting on a team, but he's convinced Notre Dame's gonna just get schwacked. I don't see how that's the case. Ohio State struggled against Oklahoma early last year, and Oklahoma didn't prove to be much. I don't see it. Notre Dame's a solid football team.
Yeah,
the whole first round of this year's NFL draft was Ohio State wide receivers. Obviously, Ohio State's going to be good this year, but they lost a lot of what they had going there. C.J. Stroud had a lot of good options, professional football players that he was throwing to. And I really hope Marcus Freeman comes in and, I never liked, and we've said this on this show multiple times, I never liked Kelly complaining about not being able to recruit to Notre Dame. You think there's a kid that can play football that does not want to go to Notre Dame, you're crazy.
Yeah, well, and Brian Kelly left, but not a whole lot changed. Tommy Rees is still the offensive coordinator. Marcus Freeman is still in town, probably having a huge influence on what they do defensively, so should be able to reload and keep playing.
Who do you know who they hired as the DC to take his place?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Well, I wonder if it was somebody on staff. Yeah, I don't know either. It's just going to be exciting. I mean, college football's got some games. Who's Alabama playing in that first one? They always play somebody tough. Texas, right?
Yeah,
they're playing Texas.
It's Texas. I tell you what, you talk about hot seats. Sarkisian could be on a hot seat. Even though he's coming off now this recruiting class with Arch Manning and everybody's starting to go there. Shit, those Texas people are the same way. They're nuts. They think they should be winning as many games as Alabama.
That's my other favorite thing that happens early in the season is some announcer, Texas is back because they beat Cal in a shootout, so they're back. That's the definition. Al Golden is the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame.
Wow.
Yeah.
He brings some experience.
Yep.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't know. I always want Alabama to do well. I'm a Nick Saban fan. Just love the way he goes about his business.
We're just a couple years away from seeing those matchups all the time. Seeing Texas and Oklahoma have to play the round-robin NCAA tournament that is the SEC.
Yeah, I think speaking of Oklahoma and their transition, I think Brent Venables is a great coach to lead that transition. I think Jeff Levy coming from Ole Miss to install that kind of high-power offense that he has, where a lot of run game but some deep shots and stuff, and then just Venables, the type of first defensive coach he was at Oklahoma at one point, then at Clemson, and then just he's a hard-nosed, old-school kind of coach, and I think that bringing that type of culture to the SEC when they come to the SEC is more successful than what they were doing the past couple years under Stoops, and then on that time under Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's a tough, hard-nosed guy. They're going to play defense, and the fact that he hired Levy shows he knows you got to have offense, though.
Yep.
So I think that's cool because Stoops had some great offensive minds there when he was the coach, right? I mean, you look at the guys that went through there for him. He was one of the first guys that really had a school like that.
Leach, Gundy were there for a little bit of time. Probably. Who else was a big name there? Obviously Lincoln Riley came there for a little bit before he took over as head coach. But
did you already say this? Because I was having a problem. Was Mike Leach there?
He was, yeah, for a season. Yep.
Okay.
And I think Gundy was there for a little bit too, wasn't he?
I believe that. Yeah.
Wasn't maybe
Not
Kingsbury
the brother
wasn't there?
What's that, Bob?
Was Kingsbury ever at Oklahoma or no?
I
He
don't
only ever
recall.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, he played at Texas Tech. I don't recall if he ever coached at Oklahoma or not.
Who do you guys think will fill that vacuum of the Big 12? Do you think that'll be Oklahoma State, Baylor for the next few years, just battling for, if one of those teams can run through the Big 12 and come to the end of the season with an undefeated record or at least a quote-unquote quality loss, I mean, they're probably a good argument for them to be knocking on the Final Four, right?
Boy. I don't know. I just think it's hard.
Big 12's getting in the Final Four, but I do agree that it's going to be Baylor or Oklahoma State that wins that conference.
But my point being that when Oklahoma was doing it, they were getting in, So if you have a Baylor that can run through the conference and doesn't have an Oklahoma to put them in their place, do they get the same Cincinnati deference?
I don't think without beating an Oklahoma, you don't get in. You need to beat Oklahoma to sneak in there, and I don't think they'll have that. So,
but who did Oklahoma have that's comparable on their win resume?
Nobody, but they got the Texas treatment, that the benefit of the doubt that Texas always gets. If Texas ever runs the table in the Big 12, they'll be in the conversation.
Okay,
just
no
because
question.
they're Texas. Oklahoma always got that same treatment up until last year. Last year they, if you remember when the CFP, like the committee's selection came out, they did not like Oklahoma last year. They went from being maybe number 4 or 5 in like the AP and coaches poll, and that first committee poll that came out, I think they were like 9 or something like that. They were significantly undervalued by the committee.
What do you think of a couple of teams that were launched up into the top 25 this year? You got Miami and USC, and Clemson, I think, came in at number 4.
Clemson had one down year, and their down year they still had 8 or 9 wins.
Right.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I think the biggest challenge there is replacing Venables, because their defense has been a big part of what Clemson has done. Miami's another one of those teams that everybody wants them to be back. So the moment they get a new coach, they get some new momentum going down there. They're gonna find a way to sneak them into the top 25. Let's watch Cristobal prove himself and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're back.
Not at this point. I mean, I don't think they could possibly be back at this point.
No, and a team like Michigan State that just keeps doing it, they've had a couple years between D'Antonio where they had to rebuild, but Mel comes in and does it. They end up at 15, and they could easily be in the top 10. I mean, but I guess it's better for us that we slide in there at 15, so we just kind of sneak up on people again.
Yeah, I think a team that is equally as consistent as Michigan State that got some pretty good treatment was Utah coming in at 7. Utah, I think, is probably going to just have a field day, other than when they play Oregon or, the Pac-12, everybody always drops a game, but Utah's pretty good, and they didn't lose a whole lot of it.
No, I mean, last year they handled Oregon like really well in like 2 weeks apart or something like that. Just handled them. So made it to the Rose Bowl, right? I can't remember if they won or not, but
Didn't they lose to Ohio State?
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good game. They were ahead most of the game, and Ohio State pulled it out again. Those big play wide receivers were tough.
Yeah.
But
And correction, Mike Gundy never coached at Oklahoma.
okay.
Bunch of time at Oklahoma State, some time at Maryland.
And Cliff Kingsbury, the school I was thinking of was A&M.
Yeah, that's
Was
right.
he at A&M?
Yep.
He was when Johnny Manziel was there, and that coach that came from Houston to Texas A&M. I can't remember his name. Sumlin. Yeah.
Sumlin, yeah, okay.
Arizona's
Yeah,
worst coach of all time, right, boys?
Yeah, that's crazy. You know how
Is
there's
he?
a coach that he got done, and then he just
He
never
lost
really
70-7. Yes, he is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. I guess
forks up.
Fish or whatever that guy's name is. He still has time to be the worst. He's not doing well either.
Rich Rod sucked too. I mean, they have had some terrible football there for a while.
Yeah.
Just brutal on the Wildcats.
Watching that 70-7 ASU ass kicking was pretty fun though. All right, well, we're at about the typical halfway point of the show, so it seems logical that this would be where we transition into some professional. I mean, I understand with NIL, college players are professional, but we won't get Tommy started on it.
That's right.
I guess let's save Hard Knocks for last, because that's the obvious topic that we go to, right? What, Tom, this NFL season, who do you think are surprise teams? What do you think are things? I talk with my hands, man.
No, I'm gonna talk about Aaron Rodgers, man, and taking those hallucinogenics.
Him and Joe Rogan. Are they talking about the?
Okay, so the Packers are your surprise team. What do they go 4-12?
No, but I knew there has a reason he was having a man bun when he showed up at camp looking like Nicolas Cage, for Christ's sake. God. Packer fans, good luck.
I like that you took an opportunity to shit on Nick Cage too while we had it.
Oh, Jesus. What are we going to do? I don't know. But it's just ridiculous that he would come on and say that kind of stuff. And, I know he's going to probably throw 8 touchdowns against us, or we'll be ahead 35-7 and we'll lose 36-35 in the fourth. But I'm done with that dude. Time for us to put an end to him. We need to win this damn division. I can see the smirk on both your faces because you think I'm drinking whiskey over here, but I'm just tired of that, man. That just drove me nuts when he talked about he's doing hallucinogenics, for Christ's sake.
Well, you were doing that Aaron Rodgers impression. To me, it sounded like a Dan Campbell impression, man.
Yeah, but hey, NFL-wise, there's a lot of big storylines. I mean, I'm anxious to see if Joe Burrow can do it again in Cincinnati. What's going on with Brady, in Tampa Bay. In his whole time in New England, he didn't have this much drama that he's had in 2 years at Tampa Bay. Let's see how that all transpires. And, these young quarterbacks, Trey Lance, they're going all in, getting rid of a guy that's taken them to the Super Bowl twice and believing in him. And then the Bears, their guy, Justin Fields. I mean, again, it's the Lions have a great opportunity this year. The Bears, Packers, even the Vikings are in a little bit of a transition with this coach. I mean, I think he's going to be a good coach. He's young. He's got the McVay stuff all over him and all that. But, we really have an opportunity to be the toughest, baddest mothers in the valley and beat some people in that division this year, possibly. So
yeah, I wonder how much of the Tom Brady drama is just the Belichick doesn't allow drama. I mean, he had Tebow on his team, and there wasn't really much drama. I wonder how much of that is this is what it's like to play for any organization that isn't, on to Cleveland, on to Cincinnati, or whatever.
Randy Moss was a model citizen. He was like, never heard us think of it.
Yeah, there's guys that have issues and they go there and there might still be issues, but you don't hear about
You don't
it. That
know
place
about
is under lock and key, and
then but again, it goes back to the media, which I used to not realize just how crazily controlling they are. But, they immediately find a chink. They're talking, well, now Tom Brady gets to be a person. He gets to do all this and do all that, and he goes and wins the Super Bowl. Well, now let's see how it is year 2 and 3. It's easy that first year, but now you see all the it's not so good when all these little things are coming out about you and your family, and you got to take time off, things that you never would have heard about in New England.
I mean, he's got some free wins in that division.
Yeah, no question.
yep. It'd be interesting to see if Todd Bowles can do well. Obviously, he wasn't great at New York, but shit, who is?
Yeah, and listen,
memory, who besides Rex Ryan was good there? I think it'll be a good opportunity for him.
Yeah, I want them to do well. I like Todd Bowles. I mean, for his sake, I hope they do well, because I think he's under a lot of pressure. We talked about coaches in college football in the hot seat. I think he's got a lot of pressure on him.
It's not like the Buccaneers hired him. I mean,
right.
in a traditional sense.
Designed, and they put him in there. And
it's his first year doing it, and he just is. He's not technically an interim coach, but he is.
Because Arians is still upstairs if things start to go bad. So there's a little bit of pressure there. And
Absolutely.
then, Jameis Winston, he's an offensive coordinator, but he still had Arians over his shoulder. And so, I don't know, Bruce Arians has proved himself. These guys got to prove themselves now, and Brady's got to prove it, and Gronk's not going to be there. And so.
Yep.
I don't know. Then you look down, look at teams like the Carolina Panthers. You draft Matt Corral. You've already got Sam Darnold, who you traded for. Then you're going to go ahead and trade for Baker Mayfield. I haven't watched the full tape, but they're at training camp with the Raiders, and there's like 2 fights that break out that are on video going around.
The Panthers are, they have their joint practice. It's with the Patriots. The Patriots and the Panthers have been fighting. It's not 2. I mean, it is nonstop.
With the Patriots? I thought it was with...
No, it is the Patriots. And they are like kicking out 3 to 4 people per day because there's just attrition.
I didn't look close enough because I was watching it right before we went on. I was watching a video in Twitter feeds. It looked to me like it was Raider players, but it was the Patriots, huh?
Those silver helmets are Patriots.
Oh, my goodness.
Belichick's just letting them do it.
Wow. Huh, that's interesting.
Some of the interesting storylines I think for the NFL this year will be, one, I want to see the Dolphins with that weirdo from San Francisco. I think he's
Yeah, that guy's a trip. Like his interviews are just the way he approaches the game's a little different than the coaches you're used to hearing.
He's just a weirdo, but I'm really interested to see how that all works. They paid 5 draft picks for Tyreek Hill to come run around, and I mean, all the things that Tyreek Hill has said about Tua this offseason, like they're in love, man. It's I think that'll be really interesting. And the other thing, San Diego or LA Chargers defense. Now that they have Bosa, they got Khalil Mack, they got JC Jackson. They just gave an ungodly amount of money today to end a holdout to Derwin James, who's like probably the 2nd or 3rd best safety in the league. And the reason, and I'm not the first person to say this, everybody has, is because they have Herbert and Rashawn Slater, both their left tackle and their star quarterback, on nothing. They are just throwing money, and I think the Chargers are just going to be an awesome team.
Yeah, so throw the money at it now while you've got positioned well talent-wise to make a run and get a title.
Look at the West.
Absolutely.
Raiders. I love the Raiders. Again, shout out to Bishaw. Love the Raiders. The Broncos have Russell Wilson. The Chargers are going to be tough. Who else is in that division?
The Kansas City
for Christ's
Chiefs.
sake. Oh my God. Yeah. So, I mean, they could be really. Every team in that division could make the playoffs. I mean, if there's some injuries, you could fall down to nothing too. But yeah, I'm excited. Hey, where did Von Miller go? Did he go to Buffalo?
Buffalo.
Buffalo's another story. they're probably primed for a Super Bowl run too.
They have been primed for a Super Bowl run.
And they had a pretty good
Kansas City
defense last year. So
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, though, they're missing Brian Dable.
That's true. Yep.
That's a gap that's going to have to be passed.
Yep. I watched Brian Dable and the Giants, so I think they got a ways to go.
Daniel Jones is not the man. He's
Oh,
just
boy.
doesn't have a great supporting cast.
Well, and Giants fans knew it the moment they drafted that guy. Like, what are we doing? And
They
they
took Thibodeau and they took that other big tackle and they got, their running back. Hopefully Barkley gets back. They got some receivers, Galladay and a couple others. So who knows?
Matthew Stafford made Galladay look good.
He did. And Matthew Stafford's made a lot of people look good, and we just didn't realize it till he got somewhere else. But, that's
I'm
unfortunate.
excited to see the night and day difference that I expect with the Jaguars as well. Maybe they get 7 wins or something, but I think that'd be a good season. But it should be night and day there, just the different personality, the way they're going about it.
I think we called Doug Peterson there. I think that we early on in January, before he was hired, we said that Doug Peterson sounded like a good Jaguars coach.
Well, there's not enough viewers to fact check it, so let's just say that that's what we said.
That's what we did. Yeah. And so, happy.
Salapa, whatever it's called.
Pulling out the big guns with the jalapeno One Well Brewing Company Zalapa or Jalapa. I don't know how you pronounce it.
You know what, though? I shout out to Jesse's. I didn't go to Jesse's today because I looked for that because my garden has been growing tons of tomatoes and jalapenos, and I was looking forward to that beer and cut some jalapenos up and put in it. Couldn't find it because I didn't go to Jesse's. So,
I mean, shoot, you could probably put a couple jalapeno slices in the bottom of a glass and pour any kind of Pilsner or something and then taste all right.
Probably true.
Worth a shot. Worst case, you just have beer.
That stuff is brewed with jalapenos, though, and it's amazing.
Sure.
One well.
All right, well, we're on the back half here. We better talk some Detroit Lions. Kevin, have you watched an episode of Hard Knocks yet?
No, I don't have HBO. I've caught a couple clips online here and there. I mean, it's what you expect from a Dan Campbell team. It's what he's been doing, kind of the emotion and passion you're seeing from the players. What have I seen? Didn't even watch the preseason game. So read some stuff about how they performed. Sounds like in practice the defense is doing a little bit better in late game situations this week. From what I read about summaries of training camp so far, so defense is starting to step up, which obviously, any improvement over last year would be nice. But no, I haven't seen any of it and haven't seen them play yet.
I thought that the defense, the number one defense, they were making the same mistakes that they made last year. We give up a big gash run, a couple of them, 15-yard runs, for no reason other than guys not in their gap. Corners, the secondary force guys sticking their nose inside and the ball bouncing outside. It's just pretty frustrating. Can't get off the field on third down. So I'm worried about the defense. I think Jared Goff is going to really thrive in the offense. I think we have offensive weapons. I think we can be good, but our defense has to get better. Fundamentally, I think we're playing a lot of man-to-man. That scares me a little bit. I think with Okudah, I love seeing Jeff Okudah back, and hopefully everything works out. But, we're sticking a lot of man-to-man defense, and we just got to be able to make plays. But, hey, I'm still excited. I think what Hard Knocks is showing is that his whole mentality of grit is paying off. I think the team is tough. We can run the football. Listen, we're running the football. We have a great offensive line. We have 2 or 3 good running backs, and we have a play-action passing game. I think they can go down. So if the defense just gets themselves together, I think we're going to be in good shape. And like I said, I think it's a great year to steal this division. The Packers are transitioning with the receivers. Aaron's off on, Mars. And the Bears and the Vikings are transitioning. We've got a better roster than the Bears,
Absolutely.
And I don't know that we have a better roster than the Vikings or the Packers. But Jared Goff is a former number 1 pick in the draft. He's taken a team to the Super Bowl. And I think he's getting comfortable, and I think he's got something to prove. I kind of like that he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and I think that's a good thing. And I think he fits Dan Campbell and, Swift and Williams at running back. And then, hopefully this DJ Chark shows up. Amon St. Brown looks like he's going to have another good year. Hawkinson's the real deal. And Rodrigo.
Absolutely.
Rodrigo, Kevin, you got to study this guy. He's a linebacker. Watch some film that they've showed of him. Dude just flies around and plays. I mean, he's a rookie linebacker. I'm really excited about 44.
I said he's got to be better than that Anzalone guy.
Anzalone's our other linebacker.
Maybe he's playing better. I remember early on in the season, at least he was one of the guys constantly out of position, false stepping, slow to plays, but we'll see.
He came to Detroit specifically because of Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell. He played for them in New Orleans, and he is one of the few people who said, I'm going to come to Detroit. And so I just hope he succeeds. I agree. Stinks as a linebacker. But I hope that he succeeds because he's a special teams guy that wanted to be here, and our linebacking core was so bad that he got to play. Now, you talked about it, Dad, with Rodriguez. I saw today was the first day of joint practices with the Indianapolis Colts, and they did put Rodriguez in the starting lineup. He was the starting middle linebacker. So that says two things. It says one thing about Malcolm Rodriguez, and it says another thing about our linebacker room. And the defense needs a lot of work. But the whole thing about Hard Knocks is they force you to have it. If you haven't made the playoffs in 5 years, they put you on a list, and you're forced to have it. The Lions apparently were on that list, but they volunteered to do it because I think they probably saw it as a campaign to get free agents and say, listen, everyone on our staff is a former player. So the Detroit Lions were the only team this year that allowed veterans to have their families stay in the hotel with them because everyone on that coaching staff was a player that has kids, that has a wife, that had to spend training camp with their wife dealing with 3 kids at home alone while all they're doing is playing football and hanging out in a hotel room. The Detroit Lions are trying to advertise, if you want to play for a team that understands what it's like to be on a team, then this is where you need to be. I think that Hard Knocks is an awesome sell for the Lions.
Well, and one thing I've noticed is, not watching it, but reading headlines, it hasn't seemed to be a distraction for the team. Like a lot of times you see it is for the Browns when they had it, or the Jets when they had it. It was some kind of spectacle that really took away from what they were trying to do. But I agree with you. They're selling their culture to anybody who's on looking for a place to land.
Yep. Well,
or if there's a comparable, hey, we can offer you this much, they can offer you a little bit more, but you see what we're about.
Well, Dan Campbell, I think, is being real too. I mean, that's not, everybody will tell you that he's not acting for the camera. That's how he is all the time. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, you got to be yourself. I mean, you can't coach to be like somebody else. Just like, Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick. I mean, I'm not saying Dan Campbell's in that level, but he coaches his way. And I like his coaching staff. I like the energy. I don't know. I think Hard Knocks is a good thing for us. It's been a joy to watch. And you guys, Lions are the Lions, but I think things are headed in the right direction.
Yep. Well, we're pushing up on that time limit that we usually hit it on. So anybody have some parting shots for us here while we wind it down? Anything that you're looking forward to this season? College football, pro football? Let's send it around.
Ball's back, man. The dark days are over. At one point, we were talking about basketball or something. That's just the worst part of the year. We're a week away and excited to for the games to kick off. So I don't care who it is, if it's Northwestern and Nebraska playing in Dublin or whatever. I'm finding a way to watch it.
Oh, are they playing out of country?
Something like that. I don't know if it's Dublin, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they're in another country.
Well, that's cool.
Why it's them is interesting. I don't know, but
yeah, Fitzgerald.
It must be.
Yep, I agree. I like basketball. Kevin doesn't. That's known. But there's something about this time of year where it's like, oh man, you get just Saturdays and Sundays. You have something awesome going on. You got a list of games that you go through and you say on Wednesday or whatever, oh man, Alabama, Georgia's this week, LSU, A&M. You know, you got Big Ten games and those other conferences that pretend they play football. It's like, it's awesome. I agree. I'm looking forward to it. I think in the NFL this year we'll have a lot of interesting storylines. I don't think that... I think the NFC is a little bit wide open. I think that our Lions and some other teams will have a chance to make a run just like the Bengals did in the AFC, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there.
Yeah, and I just really think, and the Lions are, the Lions are my team. I love them. I'm not going to go out on a limb and predict the Lions to go to the playoffs. I like to see the Lions to be competitive every game. If we won 9 games this year, I'd be the happiest man in America. And maybe we win a few more than that. We'll see what happens. But I think any team could go to the Super Bowl. I think this is a wide open race. I mean, you look in the AFC West, those guys could beat each other up. So who knows? Look in the Central, with Pittsburgh with some big changes, no Ben Roethlisberger, the Cleveland Browns with this whole Deshaun Watson thing, which is probably something we should get. We don't want to talk about that. But, the Bengals, and the East with the Dolphins. God, it goes on and on, man. And the Redskins, Cowboys, Eagles, that guy from the Eagles, that head coach, everybody kind of laughed at his first presser. He's built a pretty damn good football team there. So
Sirianni, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of great things to watch this year. It's going to be fun, and college football the same way.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight at the bar. We took a long break, but we are planning on spending these nights with you going forward, talking football. Nothing else under the sun going on, so we may as well enjoy college football, pro football. Maybe Tommy will talk about some of his sideline endeavors on Friday nights. But thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.